The first night in Hollow Grove, sleep abandoned me. I wasn't dreaming. I was remembering something I never lived. Muffled chanting echoed through the floorboards, and icy fingers brushed my ankles like whispers from the dead. We moved in thinking we'd found a fixer-upper, a diamond in the rough in a town full of boarded-up businesses and dying industry. Instead, we inherited a living memory, one that didn't belong to us. That first night, I chalked it up to nerves. The house was old, drafty, and my new room was at the end of a long, narrow hall. But then the second night came, and the third, and the whispering voices kept pace with my heartbeat, until I could no longer escape them even during the day. I sat on the edge of my bed listening to the murmurings as they drifted down the hall. I wasn't sure if I imagined the sound of footsteps behind me or if I really felt icy fingers trailing up my spine. Then the whispering stopped abruptly. As if embarrassed by my intrusion, the house fell silent. I told myself it was just an old house settling, but deep down, I knew better. Hollow Grove was more than the sum of its dilapidated buildings and faded grandeur. It was steeped in secrets that seeped from the pores of its ancient architecture, stories written in blood and bone. My husband, ever the pragmatist, dismissed my unease as normal new homeowner stuff. He set about making repairs, stripping wallpaper, sanding floors, and diving headfirst into the musty darkness of the basement. Then he came up grinning, holding a small, intricately carved wooden box. "Look, honey," he said, his voice echoing oddly in the cavernous space. "Looks like we have a little extra value added to our new home." He took it upstairs to show our realtor, who paled slightly when she saw the box. She hastily suggested that perhaps it belonged to the previous owner and that we should probably leave it where it was. But the realtor left and my husband brought the box back downstairs, deciding it deserved further inspection. I tried to dissuade him, to convince him that some things are better left undisturbed, but he was determined. We pried open the box, and inside, nestled on velvet, almost mocking us, was a small idol. Its surface was rotten in places, revealing the wood's soft inner rot. And its eyes, once shiny beads, were now dull pits. 2 holes gaped like screams frozen in wood. The moment my fingers brushed against the cold surface, the house shuddered. It was as if the very foundation drew breath, startled by a sudden, unwelcome awareness. At first, I thought it was the plumbing, but the murmurs formed words. Desperate, angry words in a language older than English, older than the house. Words that carried echoes of a massacre, of children slaughtered on this very spot, their souls forever bound to the grove and its secrets. Their torment became my torment. Every night at 3:33 a.m., they played in the hallway. I'd wake to the sight of small twisted silhouettes dancing and leaping. Their giggles echoed like broken music boxes, each note a stab of ice in my heart. I followed muddy footprints down the hall, each step a dread-filled prayer that they wouldn't lead to my door. But as the days turned colder, the footprints changed. They grew bolder, creeping closer. Then one morning I woke to find them stopped on my side of the bed. I haven't slept since. And every night, exactly at 3:33 a.m., I watch them play. They gather in my doorway, these twisted specters of sorrow, their laughter like nails on a chalkboard, scratching away the last vestiges of my sanity. I know now they're not ghosts, not in the traditional sense. They're fragments of pain, of sorrow and mischief forever twisted into something unholy, forever bound to this accursed soil. Old Miss Grady from next door finally said it. She was the only other resident who hadn't fled Hollow Grove. Her eyes, rheumy with age and sorrow, told stories of generations past. One evening, as twilight bled into night, she uttered it, the unspoken truth that hung heavy in the air. "Your home sits atop sacred bones, Miss L. Children buried without names, dug up and forgotten. You stirred them. They remember now." Her words hung in the air like funeral bells, tolling for a grave that had been lost for centuries. We didn't just move into a haunted house. We moved into a desecrated temple, a monument to grief, a place where the veil between worlds is so thin you can hear the cries of the damned, feel their icy fingers brushing against your skin. I thought leaving would save us. But the chanting followed me. In hotel vents, in the static of my phone, in the darkness beneath my eyelids. Hollow Grove didn't want the house back. It wanted me. They showed me their wrath on the anniversary of the desecration. The ground convulsed beneath my feet. The walls wept mud. Hands clawed the windows, not to hurt us, but to scream, to make us listen. It was a horror symphony, a cacophony of grinding teeth and wet, guttural sobs, of pounding fists and splintering wood. They were trapped, and they wanted us to feel their pain, to understand their anguish. Then at dawn, when the sky began to lighten, the house wrote its verdict. I woke to find the walls covered in black, oily sludge. It oozed and writhed like a living thing, forming letters that chilled me to the bone. Leave or join us beneath. And as I read those words, I knew, with a certainty that defied logic, that this house, this prison of memories, was not ours. It was theirs. The happy memories we'd planned to make here would be stained with the sorrow of 1,000 lost souls. The laughter of our children would echo with the shrieks of tortured spirits. So we packed our things, my husband and I, running from the past that refused to stay buried. And as we fled Hollow Grove, I swore I heard the whisper of relief, a sigh of contentment from the lips of the damned. We escaped, or did we? Maybe we're already part of the floorboards, and this is my ghost telling you to stay away, warning you of the evil that slumbers beneath the floorboards. If you find an idol carved with screaming faces, don't touch it. If you hear chanting in the dead of night, don't answer. If you see footprints in the dust, don't follow them. If you smell the cloying sweetness of decay, don't linger. I thought leaving would save us. But the chanting followed me. In hotel vents, in the static of my phone, in my dreams. Hollow Grove didn't want the house back. It wanted me. The haunting chorus reverberates in my nightmares, a constant reminder that escape was an illusion. Now, as the sun sets and shadows stretch, I hear the whispers growing louder. And as the clock strikes 3:33 a.m., I know I'm not alone. They're here with me, dancing in the corner, their laughter a symphony of madness. And if I could just reach out and touch them, maybe then I'll find some shred of peace. Or maybe I'll join them in their eternal torment. The choice, dear listener, is yours. Will you heed my warning and stay far from Hollow Grove? Or will you venture into the shadows, into the whispering halls where the dead refuse to rest? Remember, if you hear the chanting, don't answer. If you see the footprints, don't follow. If you feel the cold touch of despair, don't linger. Because once you cross the threshold of Hollow Grove, there's no turning back. If you're still listening, don't come to Hollow Grove. If you ever find an idol under your floor, don't touch it. And if you hear the whispering in your dreams, don't call out my name, for I am not the one you seek. And as the darkness deepens around you, and the whispers grow louder, I urge you to run, to flee while you still can. For once the grove claims you, there is no escape. No escape from the floorboards that remember, the walls that weep, and the whispers that haunt. Run before it's too late. Before the chanting consumes you and the shadows claim you as their own. Before you become another story whispered in the dead of night, another victim claimed by the insatiable hunger of Hollow Grove.